Japanese scary stories. I pressed the call button by mistake. This is a terrifying experience that a friend from the same school had when we were university students. One night, my friend rushed into my apartment. With a pale face as if he had seen something terrifying, he collapsed onto the floor. When I asked what had happened, he said the following. While taking a bath, he intended to press the reheating button, but accidentally pressed the call button instead. At that moment, a woman's voice from outside the bathroom said, "Wait there, I'm coming now." My friend lives in a pretty nice rental apartment, but his family home is in the countryside, so like me, he lives alone. He doesn't have a girlfriend either. As soon as he wondered whose voice it could be, a chill ran down his spine, and he couldn't stop trembling. He was scared to leave the bath, but knew he couldn't go outside without getting out of the bath first. So he hurriedly put on his clothes and fled the apartment. "Did you see a woman in your apartment?" I asked him. He shook his head slightly and said, "I don't know. I was too scared to look around and just ran to the door. But the door was properly locked, and the chain was on. I locked up when I came back from university. The door was definitely locked." In the end, I let him stay at my place that night. He didn't turn off the lights, and he drank the alcohol I had in the fridge as if trying to drown his fear. He managed to calm himself down a bit. He then went back to his family home, and it seems his parents came to collect his belongings from the apartment. I haven't been in touch with him since, so I don't know what happened after that. Ever since hearing that story, I have been extremely careful not to press the call button while in the bath. Kajiko. Fishing is my hobby. I enjoy it everywhere: sea, mountains, rivers, without being particular about the location. Especially, I love the thrill of going out to sea on a boat. This is a story from quite some time ago that I experienced during one of my fishing trips. With a long holiday just around the corner, I was feeling extremely restless. This was because my friends and I had planned a fishing trip during the holiday, and I had been eagerly looking forward to it. Fishing all day, and then enjoying the fresh catch with some drinks in the evening. Just thinking about this luxury made me drool with anticipation. Finally, work ended, and the first day of the holiday arrived. Blessed with good weather, my two friends and I packed ourselves into a car and headed to our accommodation. After a soak in the hot springs and dinner, we prepared for the early start the next day. Confident that we would have a successful fishing trip, we went to bed. When I woke up, it was still night. However, it was time to get up. Fishermen start their day early. We quickly prepared our gear and left the inn before dawn. The captain who would be taking us out to sea had been an acquaintance for many years. He was a veteran, well known locally for his extensive knowledge and experience of the sea. After a brief greeting, we set off for the open sea. The night sea has a mystical atmosphere. It is pitch black. Without the boat's light, you can't even see your own body clearly. When the moon is out, you can see a bit, but that only emphasizes the vastness of nature and can make you feel scared. As we began fishing, the sky started to lighten, and we were all catching fish. The captain's recommended spots never failed. After a while, as we were all catching a fair amount of fish, I noticed a sound. Creak. Creak. It was a sound like something was creaking, intermittently heard between the waves. I thought it might be the boat, but if it were, we should have heard it all along. Puzzled, my friends also wondered aloud, what could that be? Suddenly, the captain said, "Sorry, folks, but it seems the tide has changed. We're done for today. Sorry about that." He started moving the boat back to shore. Though we felt something was off, the captain's word was final. Anyway, we still had the next day, so we decided to enjoy some sightseeing. Back on land, I couldn't stop thinking about the sound. We were having a great catch, so why did the captain decide to head back? Usually, he would insist on staying longer to catch more fish. I concluded that the sound had some sort of significance. The next day, we boarded the boat again before dawn and headed out to sea. During the ride, I casually asked the captain about the creaking sound. "What was that creaking sound yesterday?" The captain looked slightly troubled and replied, "Well, it's a sign telling us to go back." I wanted to ask more, but we arrived at the fishing spot, and we started fishing. The sea was calm, in what is known as nagi conditions, but our rods were silent too, with no bites coming our way. Creak, creak. In the stillness, the sound started again. I strained to hear where it was coming from, and noticed something in the distance. It looked like a small wooden boat with someone standing and rowing. Slowly but surely, it seemed to be moving towards us. "Captain, there's a boat rowing towards us," I informed him, to which the captain responded loudly. "Really? How many people do you see rowing?" I saw one person, one friend saw two, and another friend saw nothing. As soon as he heard our responses, the captain started the boat, almost making us stumble. "Sorry for the rough ride, but we're heading back immediately." Sensing the urgency in his tone, we felt the tension rise. As the boat's engine roared, the creaking sound persisted. Looking back at the boat, I saw the wooden boat getting closer. There's no way a hand-rowed boat could catch up to a motorboat. What was it? As I stared, I saw it. The rower was a mummy. A person reduced to skin and bones, not at all looking alive, yet rowing towards us. "Captain, it's getting closer," I shouted in fear, but the captain didn't respond and focused on steering. "What on earth is that?" As my friend and I stared in shock, the land came into view, and the pursuing boat gradually disappeared. Once on shore, the captain said, "Tonight you can't stay at the inn. You'll need to stay at the shrine." He guided us to the shrine, where he informed a priest-like person, "These folks saw the Kajiko." The priest said he would take us in without any argument. The shrine staff treated us very well, and the captain even provided fish as a service. The inn's staff also came to help, and we ended up having an unexpected yet pleasant experience. What is a Kajiko? After dinner, we asked for an explanation. Long ago, before the war, in this area where the sea stretches out before us, fishing was the main livelihood. Families would go out to sea together to support themselves. At that time, schools were not widespread, so even young children were valuable labor. However, as fishing catches increased and labor shortages grew, it became necessary to find workers from elsewhere. Children sold due to poverty, or those without family ended up as laborers. It's hard to believe now, but children were once traded as valuable labor, facing slavery and forced labor. This applied not just to fishing, but to agriculture and other jobs as well, a practice that was widespread but not officially recorded in history. Originally, Kajiko referred to children in a family who rowed the boat. Over time, children brought in as laborers also became Kajiko. However, their treatment became increasingly inhumane. Seen only as labor, they worked from morning to night. Those who tried to escape or resist often faced brutal punishment and death. How many children became Kajiko and died is not officially recorded, leaving the truth in darkness. Over time, stories of people seeing Kajiko ghosts at sea began to emerge. The number of Kajiko seen varied depending on the observer, with more Kajiko indicating a higher likelihood of death soon. Seeing 4 or more Kajiko often meant death within a week. The number of Kajiko seen was closely related to the observer's social status. For example, a person with many subordinates, like a company president or a wealthy individual, would die after seeing Kajiko. A president who saw countless Kajiko reportedly fell off a cliff and died a few days later. In recent years, inhumane labor practices have mostly disappeared, and perhaps the ghosts have found peace over time, as sightings of Kajiko have become rare. Fortunately or unfortunately, we were insignificant employees, so seeing Kajiko didn't affect us. As a precaution, we stayed at the shrine. That night, I woke up needing to use the restroom. As I walked along the creaky hallway, I couldn't help but think of the Kajiko. I wanted to quickly finish and get back to bed. While relieving myself, I heard the sound again. Creak. Creak. The sound seemed both near and far. Could it be the Kajiko? I stood still, holding my breath, and focused on listening. The sound continued, eerily constant. What should I do? Stay in the restroom all night? Or make a dash for it and seek help? I hoped the Kajiko wouldn't mistakenly take me away. Sweating with fear, I decided to leave the restroom and get help. Moving quietly and cautiously, I slowly opened the door to check the hallway. Looking right and then left, I saw it. A child-sized bluish mummy stood in the hallway. Its eyes and mouth were disproportionately large black holes. Though its presence was undeniable, it seemed unreal, like a prop. Terrified, I tried to scream, but no sound came out, and I couldn't move. I was frozen in place. The Kajiko and I stayed still, but as I stared into its black eyes, they seemed to grow, pulling me in. When I regained consciousness, I was lying in bed. The priest was performing a ritual nearby. He noticed I was awake and expressed relief that I had woken up. After that, nothing unusual happened, and we returned home safely from the trip. We had to forego fishing for the rest of the trip, but considering what happened, it was understandable. In recent times, the concept of black companies has become known, but the issues between employers and employees have always existed. While not as horrific as the Kajiko, similar suffering still exists today, and it saddens me. I continue to enjoy sea fishing, but the captain has passed away, and the existence of Kajiko is almost forgotten. I hope that the suffering of the Kajiko can serve as a lesson for future generations, fostering a more humane society. Slit-mouthed woman's school had ended, and the sun was beginning to set. A group of 3 close friends, A, B, and C, who lived nearby, were walking home together as usual, chatting along the way. Suddenly, they noticed a woman walking towards them from the opposite direction on the now nearly deserted sunset-lit street. "Hey!" "Yeah." Tension filled the air between them. At first glance, the woman looked like a beautiful lady with long hair, but she was wearing a bright red long coat and a large mask. It was the middle of summer. Anyone could see that her outfit was bizarre. The distance between the 3 friends and the woman gradually shortened. Trying not to make eye contact, they attempted to pass by her. At that moment, "Am I beautiful?" Startled, the 3 boys looked at the woman. She had stopped and was facing them. "This is definitely bad." Thinking this and ready to run at any moment, A answered, Yes, you're very beautiful." Then the woman said, "Thank you, but what about now?" She removed the large mask. "Ah!" The 3 boys screamed and ran away as fast as they could. Beneath the mask, the woman's mouth was slit wide open, extending to her ears. Thank you for listening to the end. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel and give it a high rating.